So yesterday we have seen what is the differences. So we have seen the differences between the list and NumPy array. And the differences, I said, what is a list and what is a array is. I said list is a fundamental data type in Python, or it is a standard data type in Python. And array is a so provided by third party vendor. And list is a collection of homogeneous or heterogeneous elements. But array is a collection of similar type data, elements or items. In list, data is represented as what? Objects. But in array, data is represented as what? Is not represented as objects. It is represented as what? Values. And list occupies more space. And array occupies what here? Less space. And list doesn't provide any data types for representing data. But array is bind with one data type. And array provides, or you can say, data types. And it doesn't support vector operations, but array support vector operations. It doesn't provide any methods for changing the shape, or it doesn't provide, it provides the methods for changing the shape. It doesn't provide any predefined methods to perform mathematical, statistical, and scientific calculations, but it provides some predefined methods to perform mathematical, statistical, and scientific calculations. In list data is organized randomly, but in array data is organized in sequential order. It is not efficient in reading and writing, but it is efficient in what? Reading. And list is created by using square bracket, but array is created using number of functions. There are various functions are there, and list object is represented using list class, and array object is represented using ND array class. And after that, I said, what is NumPy is? Okay, this is what we have seen. And what are the applications of NumPy? And after that, I said NDRA class or data type. So NumPy provides a powerful data structure called which one? Array. And NumPy is introduced in the year 2005. And NumPy is developed by a person whose name is what? Travis Oliphant. And NumPy is derived from another library called which one? NumArray, right? And NDRA is a class or data type. So NumPy library or module provides only one data structure called NDArray, and NDArray is a class or data type which is used to represent an array, and this array can be 1D array, this array can be 2D array, this array can be what? ND array, right? Then how to create an array? See, you can create an array by using directly using which class? ND array. But NumPy provide various functions. NumPy provide various functions for creating ND array object. So NumPy provides various functions to create an array. Now these are different functions for creating array, like array, arrange, linspace, and one more is log space. And there are some special arrays you can create by using special functions, zeros, ones, empty, full. And there is an identity or diagonal matrices. So that is called as I and diagonal. And there is a random arrays that is done by using random.random and random.random integer and random.random n and random.choice. Now this is for creating which arrays? Random arrays, right? Yes. And yesterday we have seen example like how to create an array by using which data type? ND array. But whenever you create an array using ND array, you have to define one argument, compulsory required argument. And what is the required argument here? Shape. Okay, right? So because of that, because of that, yeah, because of that, so NumPy is provided various functions, and all these functions return which object? All these functions return which object? NDRA object. All these functions return which object? NDRA object. all these functions return NDRA object. You can create NDRA object by using class. What is the name of the class? NDRA. But it is provided some special functions. It is provided special functions for creating which object? NDRA object. So what are these functions here? All these are different functions. You can directly use a function called array. You can use a function called arange. You can use a function called linspace. Like this, you can use these functions for creating which object? NDRA object, right? So let us see. Let us see how to create an NDRA object by using these functions. So why you are creating an array to represent data in rows and columns? By representing data in rows and columns, you can perform which operations? Mathematical operations, statistical operations, and scientific calculations, right? By organizing the data in the form of rows and columns. Uh, Here also I use parenthesis only, but here, what is the required argument here? Shape. Shape is a required argument that can be represented as sequence. That sequence can be either tuple, that sequence can be either list. Okay, that sequence can be either tuple, that sequence can be either what? List. This is a tuple. The shape is represented as what here? Tuple. Here shape is represented as what here? List. So in the list, if I'm writing 1, 2, 3, 4, this is which array? This is which array? 4D array. This is which array? 4D array. This is which array? 2D array. This is 4D array and this is which array? 2D array. Okay, now this is having 1 comma 2 comma 3 comma 4. So how many dimensions it is having? 4 dimensions. How many dimensions this is having? 2 dimensions. But compulsory you have to represent what? Shape. Without giving a shape, you cannot create what? Array. When you are using which data type? ND array data type. So to avoid this, there are various functions provided. To avoid this, there are various functions provided, and within that, the first function is what? Array, right? So let me talk about these functions. So what is the name of the function is array, and here ND array, okay, ND array or array is a mutable what here? Data type. ND array or array is a mutable data type. After creating ND array object, okay, changes can be done. Changes can be what here? Done. After creating ND array or array, because array is which object here? Mutable. So when you are saying a mutable, the changes can be done in the same object or in the new object? Same object. The changes can be done in the same object but not in the new object. So it provides some mutable operations by using which you can do what? Changes. So ND array or array is a mutable data type, and after creating ND array object, changes can be done. So it provides some mutable methods. It provides some mutable methods. It provides some mutable methods to perform. Okay, to perform which operations? Mutable operations. It provides some mutable methods to perform mutable operations. It provides some mutable methods to perform mutable operations. So first we'll see creating an array by using which function? Array function. Okay. So let me talk about these functions here. So first function is what here? Array. So there is a function called array. So this function, okay, this function returns which object? ND array object. This function returns which object? ND array object. It returns the ND array object. Now, if you see the syntax of this array function, it is having so many arguments or parameters. Because when you're talking about array, the array is having some properties. Array is having some properties, or array is having some attributes. Array is having some properties, or array is having what? Attributes. Now you need to define the properties or attributes at the time of creating which object? Array object by using which function? Array function. You have to define those attributes or those properties at the time of creating which object? Array object by using which function? Array function. Okay. So it is having number of arguments. So it is having number of arguments here. Yes. So it is having number of arguments. Okay, right now it is having number of arguments. So it is having number of arguments. When you're talking about this array function here, so many sorry. Now I just take the syntax here because it is having so official documentation will see. Now in this, you have a function called which one? Numpy array. Now whenever you're talking about this, now you have a number of arguments. Now in this, one required argument is there. What is the required argument here? Object. And second one is called as what? Data type. And third one is called as which one? Copy. And fourth one is called as a order. And fifth one is called as subhook. And next one is called as end dimension. And next one is called as nd max. And next one is called as like. Now there are number of arguments required, but in this one argument is compulsory. Which argument is a required argument here? Object. Which argument is a required argument here? Object. Okay. So array object. So here array object is having the following attributes. It means whenever you create an array object, the array object is created with some attributes, or with some properties. The array object is created with some attributes or some properties. Attributes or properties. Okay, for example, whenever you create any object, the object is created with some properties. Yes or no? Whenever you create an object, your object is created with some properties. Properties. Yes or no? Huh? For example, I'm creating a complex number by saying 1 plus 2j. I said C1 equal to 1 plus 2j. When I'm writing here C1 equal to 1 plus 2j, what is 1 here? Real. What is 2 here? Imaginary. 1 is a real and 2 is a imaginary. It means what Python is doing, it is creating one object or not. Tell me here, is it creating one object or not? Yes. It is creating one object. So this object is having how many attributes or properties? Two attributes or two properties. What is the first one is? What is the first one? Real. What is the real is? 1.0. What is the imaginary is? 2.0. Then how can you access the real? C1 dot, C1 dot, what is that? Real. So will I get the value of real or not? Yes. What is the value of real is 1.0. How can I get the imaginary value? C1 dot, what I'm saying? Imaginary. Then I'll get which value? Imaginary value. So it means your object is created with how many properties? Two properties. One is real and one more is imaginary. Getting on. So every object is having some properties or attributes which hold values. That is what you learn in object oriented, right? So you build your own class. Building class is nothing but creating one data type. Building class is nothing but creating one data type. So what is the name of the data type? Student. Now student is having some properties, right? Student is having attributes or not? Yes. Student is having attributes. Where you create these attributes in constructor? You create these attributes within the constructor, and within the constructor you are saying self dot roll number, self dot name, self dot name, self dot roll number, self dot name, and self dot what is that? Course. Now it means whenever I create a student, the student is created with how many properties? Three properties. What is that? Roll number, name, and course. It is created with three attributes, that is roll number, name, and course. Whenever you create a student, I am writing here student 1 equal to student. I am writing here student 1 equal to student. So what will happen? It will create an object. What is the name of the object is student 1. Student 1 is created with a roll number. Student 1 is created with name. Student 1 is created with what? Course. That means the student is having how many attributes? Three attributes. Complex number is having how many attributes? Two attributes. One is real and one more is imaginary, right? So how can I get these attributes is by using member access operator, that is C1 dot real, C1 dot real, and C1 dot imaginary. So that returns the real value. And what is the value of real is 1.0. And what is the value of imaginary is 2.0. Is it clear? Right? So in the same way, whenever you create an array object, whenever you create which object? ND array object, the ND array object also created with some attributes. Array object or ND array object. Okay, because your array object is of which type? ND array. It is created with following attributes or properties. So within that, there is an attribute or property called n dimension. What is the name of this property? N dimension. N dimension. And there is an attribute called which one here? Shape. There is an attribute called shape. There is a n dimension. There is an attribute called shape. And there is an attribute called which one? D type. There is an attribute called D type. There is an attribute called item size. All these are various attributes. ND array. Yes. Lot of attributes are there. We'll see all the attributes. So it is created with number of attributes. So it is having, now I said no, like parameters. Shape is there, data type is there, and you can see shown here. Yeah. Now all these are attributes, and in this what I said about I said n dimension, shape, D type, and there is an attribute called T, and there is an attribute called item size. There is an attribute called item size. There is an attribute called item size, and there is an attribute called n bytes. There is an attribute called which one? N bytes, and there is an attribute called size. Okay, there is an attribute called which one? Size. Size is an attribute. and there is a n dimension, there is a shape, and see, I'm taking only the things which are required. Okay, I'm not taking all the things. Okay, n bytes, size, and there is a real and imaginary is there, and there is a data type, and there is a data. Okay, there is a data type, and there is what here? Data, right? So now these are various attributes. These are various attributes of which object? These are various attributes of which object? ND array object. It means some more attributes also there, but I've taken only the attributes which are required. I take only the attributes which are required. There is an attribute called which one? Flatten array. Flat is nothing but flatten array, right? So let us talk about all these attributes one by one. But before that, we'll try to create first what? Array. Without creating array, can you read these properties? No. So compulsory you have to create which one? Array. Compulsory you have to create the array. Okay. So ND array object is having the following attributes are properties. The first one is n dimension, second one is a shape, third one is a D type, fourth one is a T. T is nothing but transpose, and fifth one is item size, and sixth one is n bytes. Sixth one is n bytes, and seventh one is a size, and eighth one is data, and ninth one is what? Flatten array, right? So first let us see how to create an arrays. How to create a arrays first. Okay. So I'm creating an array. I'm creating an array. Just import. Import numpy as np. Import and numpy as what? Np. Now numpy is a module or it is a package. But when actually import is used for importing a modular package, module. Import is for importing module. But is it NumPy is a modular package? Package. NumPy is a package. What is a package is? Folder. What is a package? Folder. And what this folder contain? Modules. This folder contain modules. NumPy is a package and this package contain modules. But whenever you import any package, by default, it imports one module. Which module it imports? Init.py. So one module is referred with what name? Package name. One module is referred with package name, and which module is referred with the package name? Init.py. Now, but there are so many packages are available inside what? NumPy. And all those are imported at which level? Module level. Okay, now I said import numpy as np. Np is nothing but alias name or not? Yes. I'm writing a equal to np dot a equal to np dot array. A equal to np dot array. Numpy dot array. So what will happen if I write only like this? I'm writing np dot array. If I run this, now it is given errors here. It is given error. What is that error is? Type error and is saying that array missing one required argument. What is it argument is missing? Object. It means whenever you are creating an array using which function? Array function, compulsory you need to represent data. Compulsory you have to represent what? Data. It means I cannot create an array without giving what? Data. But can you create an array without giving data? Can you create an array without defining data? Yes. By using which object? ND array. Here I use ND array or not? Yes. Using ND array, are you define the shape or data? You define the shape or data? Shape is defined. But are you represented data? Na? No. Then what is this? Is created with what? Garbage values. It is created with which values? Garbage values, unknown values. You have not defined the values. Then it is taken some unknown values which are there in memory. It is taken some unknown values which are there in what? Memory. If you want to create an array without defining data, you can create it. But array should contain data. But you are not representing data. It takes some unknown values. These are known values or unknown values, unknown values. But when you are creating array, by using which function? Array function, one argument is compulsory required. Which argument is required? Object. Which argument is required? Object is required. Okay. So one argument is compulsory required. Now this is, I'm taking one syntax here. Array. Array it followed by which one? Object. But remaining all these are, it is having default or not? Yes, it is having default. It is having n dimension, which is what? None. It is having a shape. You are not defining any shape. It will take the default shape. Then D type. It is also given default type or not? Yes. All these are taken with the default values. Default values. All these are having some default values. The shape is taken automatically. Yes, sir. The dimension is taken automatically. The type is taken what? Automatically based on the values what you are sending. So array function is having one required argument. One required argument. What is that required argument? Object. A required argument called object. So what is this object is? What this object is? The object can be any type or not? Is it object can be any type or it should be a iterable? For example, I'm creating an array like this. I'm writing array of 5. I'm writing array of what? 5. If I run this array of 5, now you can see import numpy as np and I'm saying a equal to np dot array of 5. What is 5? 5 is an object or not? Yes. 5 is an object of which type? Array 5 is an object of which type? Integer type. 5 is an object of which type? Integer. Now if I'm saying print a and if I'm writing a type of a, if I'm writing a type of a is which type here? ND array. A is which type here? ND array. ND array. A is which type here? ND array. Because is it created array object or not? Yes. It is created array object with how many values? It is created array object with how many values? One value. If I'm writing some a of 0, I'm writing a of 0. And what is a of 0? It is given what? Error. So too many indexes for array. Array is what? Zero dimensional. Array is what? Zero dimensional. Zero dimensional means it is having only one element. It is having only one element and you cannot access it by using what? Index. Because there is no dimensions. There is no dimension. See, there is no dimension. It is just created array with what? 5. Is it having any dimension? No. It is not having any dimension. This is called which dimension? Zero dimension. Suppose if I am writing 5 comma 6 comma 7 comma 8. Now this is which dimension? One dimension. This is one dimension. But this is which dimension? Zero dimension. When you are saying it is zero dimension, is it required to access it by using any index? No, it doesn't. You cannot access it by using what? Index. But it is created array with dimensions or zero dimensions? Zero dimension. When you are saying it is zero dimension, it is having only one value. It is having only one value and you cannot access it by using what? Index. You cannot access it by using what? Index. You can just access it by using what? Name. What is the name of the array is? A. Getting or not? So this array function allows to create. Array function allows to create, okay, array using object. And this object can be any type. This object can be any type. It can be any type. It can be any type means it can be a scalar type or it can be a collection type. It can be a scalar type or it can be what? Collection type. Scalar means one value. Okay, if the input is given one value, then it is created with how many dimensions? Zero dimension. It is created with how many dimension? Zero dimension. Zero dimension. So dimension, the dimension represent axis. The dimension represent what? Axis. Axis and dimension represent not only axis, dimension represent how many indexes can you use to access what? Elements. If it is a two-dimensional array, you are using how many indexes? Two indexes. One you call it as row index and one more is what? Column index. If it is a three-dimension, you are using how many indexes? Three indexes. One is a number of matrix index and one more is a row index and one more is column index. If it is a four-dimension, you are trying to use how many indexes? Four indexes. One is a cluster index, matrix index, row index, column index. Ring on. So the dimension represent, okay, axis. The dimension represent what? Axis. Okay, that is what do you call it as axis 0, axis 1, axis 2, axis 3. Now, how you are accessing it? By using axis, and how you are accessing it? By using index. And if you are representing number of dimensions, you will be using number of indexes to access what? Elements. To access what? Elements, right? So array function allows to create an array object using object. Object, and this object can be any type. If object is a scalar type, if object is which type? Scalar type, it create array object with which dimension? Zero dimension. It create an array object with which dimension? Zero dimension. Zero dimension. If object is which type? Iterable type. Iterable type or collection type. Iterable type or collection type. What 100 parameters? What 100 parameters? What do you mean by 100 parameters here? If object is iterable type or collection type, what is that? What is your question here? What is your question? What I'm telling you, what you're asking? Srinivas ready? What I'm telling and what you're asking? What I'm telling, what you're asking? You want to create 100 DRA, na? 100 DRA means what? What do you discuss at the end here? What is 100 DRA? 100 dimensions, huh? You want to create with 100 dimensions. What do you do with 100 dimensions? Huh? What do you do with 100 dimensions here? Huh? What do you do with 100 dimensions? Will you create in applications? Which one you represent in 100 dimensions in real time? कुछ है यार 100 dimension कुछ है रहता क्या? Huh? Even in machine learning also you don't use it. That is what I'm telling. Data science, machine learning also you don't use it. Image में कितने dimensions रहता है? 3 रहता है, नहीं तो 4 रहता है. Audio, video, how many dimensions? 3 or 4 maximum. If you created tensors, maybe having 5 or 6. Huh? But 100 dimensions किधर रहता है यार? बहुत complex है ये. How you read that 100 dimension? कैसे बोलते हैं आप 100 dimension? बोले तो you should use how many indexes? How many indexes you should use? 100 indexes. How many indexes you should use? 100 indexes to read the data. Yes or no? Abhi, not just here. Not in data sense also you do. You know list, right? List, you know it. Huh? So square brackets. So 1 comma 2. Okay. List inside a list. List inside a list is called what? Nested list. Now can you say this is one matrix? Huh? This matrix, two dimension. Two dimension, right? Because having how many rows? Two rows and two columns. Srinivas Reddy, you are asking 100 dimensions. Okay. Then how many nested I should write? 100. How many nested I should write? 100, 100. But what it represent, you should know that also. Huh? Yes. Now here I should use how many indexes? Two indexes. One is a row index and one more is a column index. A of 0, 1. What is A of 0, 1 is 1. A of 0, 0. Sorry. A of 0, 0. What is A of 0, 0? 1. What is A of 0, 1? 2. What is A of 1, 1? 3. Sorry. A of 1, 0 is what? 3. A of 1, 0 is 3. What is A of 1, 1? 4. Yes or no? So that is a row index and one more is a column index because it is two dimension. If I am writing A equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is which array? One dimensional array. Then use how many indexes? One index. A of 0. What is A of 0? 1. What is A of 1? 2. What is A of 2? 3. What is A of 3? 4. What is A of 4? 5. This is one dimension. This is two dimension and this is one dimension. So dimension define axis. Dimension define what here? Axis. This is called axis 0. This is called as what here? Axis 0. This is called axis 0. Axis 0. Okay. So that is a row axis. Axis 0. And this is called axis 0 and axis 1 because it is having rows and columns. It is having rows and columns, right? So this object can be, now I think you understood Srinivas Reddy, right? Yes or no, yeah? Huh? Then first you try to understand how to create. Okay? Yes. If you want to create it, first you should represent data, right? So here I created an array with which dimension? How many dimension this is having? Zero dimension. How can you find out the dimension? A dot, A dot. What is the name of the attribute? N dimension. A dot, N dimension. And what is the dimension of this array? Zero. Because it is having only one value. Okay. So it means it is just like a variable having integer value or not? Yes. It is just like a variable having which value? Integer value. Suppose if I'm writing here x equal to or b equal to 100, b equal to 100. Now, can you say a and b is the same type or not? Yes, because b is holding how many values? One value. A is also holding how many values? One value. But A is which type of array? If you want, you can change the dimension. If you want, you can change the dimension. You can change the dimension by using which property? N dimension. Understood? Right. So if you give a scalar type, it will create an array with zero dimension. It will create an array with what? Zero dimension. But you want to create an array with one dimension. You want to create an array with one dimension. I'm saying np dot array. So np dot array, now you need to represent data. Will you represent one value or more than one value? More than one value. How you represent more than one value as one collection? How you represent more than one value as one collection? And you are trying to represent more than one value as what here? List. I'm saying a list. I'm saying 1 comma 2 comma 3 comma 4. 1 comma 2 comma 3 comma 4. Now this list is having how many values? 4 values. 4 values, and I'm saying print B and type of B. Now B is of which type here? ND array. Now this is with one dimension or two dimension? One dimension. So dimension represent what? Access. And dimension represent how many indexes can be used to access the elements of what? Array. How many indexes can be used to access the elements of array? It also represent what? Access. It also represent access, right? So if I'm trying to say print b dot, print b dot, what is that? N dimension. How many dimensions it is having? One dimension. That is nothing but access 0. Access 0. Okay. Only one access, right? That is a row and columns. A row and columns, right? So that is n dimension. If I want to create an array with, if I want to create an array with, okay, two dimension, then I'm creating a list, and inside that list, I'm trying to represent another list. Inside that list, I'm representing another list. Another list, I'm representing it. So writing a list inside a list is called what? Nested list. Writing a list inside a list is called a nested list. And each list represent what? Array. I mean, each list represent what? Row. And each value inside the list is represent what? Column. It represent a row and one more is a column. So print C and type of C. Print C and type of C and C dot n dimension. When you run this, how many dimensions it is having? Two dimension, because it is having rows and columns. It is having row and column. Now you can see two. Means I should use how many indexes? Two indexes. One is a row index and one more is what? Column index. One is a row index and one more is a column index. You have to use it. Are you getting or not? What is dimension represent? Axis. Dimension represent what? Axis. And this, the dimension represent axis. Axis. AX. Okay. So accessing different axis. 0 axis, 1 axis, 2 axis. Okay, right. That is called as axis. Not axis. My pronunciation is, I'm not saying axis. I'm saying what here? Axis. Right? So this is axis 0 is what? 1D. Axis 0 and axis 1 is, axis 0 and axis 1 is 2D. Okay, axis what? 0, axis 1 and axis 2 is called 3D. And this axis also represent dimensions, or it also represent indexes, right? Just try to understand this. So 1, 2, comma 3, 4 directions. Axis is nothing but what? Generally, axis is nothing but directions. What is the axis is here? Direction. Axis 0. Axis 0, axis 0 and axis 1. Axis 0 and axis 1. Now that generally you call it as which one? Directions. Directions. Yes or no? Directions. Suppose if I'm writing axis 0, now this is called as axis 0. Means what is the direction in which you are reading? What is the direction you are reading? A row. A row, and what is that? Yes, column axis 0, 0, 1, 2, 3. Suppose you have a like this 1, 2, 3, 4. Now you have an axis 0 and axis 1. Means one is a row axis and one more is what? Direction. How to read it? In which direction you want to read it? Means first a row and then what? Column. So that you represent what here? Directions. Right? Yes. So just confirm 1, 2, 3, 4 is the object while 1, 2, 3, 4 are the values. Is it that correct? Uh, yes. So yeah, no problem here. So what you are trying to do is, see here, list inside a list. Writing a list inside a list is called what? Nested list. Inside a list, each list is one value. Inside a list, each list is one value. And inside that list, each value is one value. Getting or not? Okay. Yeah, same thing here. Okay. Yes. Now, if you want to represent, yeah, I think you understood this creation. What do you say here? You understood this creation or not? Yes. Yeah, access. Yes, right. So now I think you understood this one. Okay. N dimension, N dimension. Okay. So the dimension represent access. The dimension represent how many indexes to be used to access or read the elements of the matrix or what? Array. Now this is important question again. This is important question when it comes to the arrays, because without knowing dimensions, you cannot create which one? Array. So number of array dimensions, that's it. Simple definition is given number of array dimension, that is in the documentation it is given. This is in the documentation, that is return the number of return the number of return the number of dimensions of a array. But what is exactly n dimension? Technical definition. So what is n dimension in Numpy? Yeah, you can see number of access. N dimension directly tells you how many accesses or dimensions the array has. For instance, 1D array is simple list of numbers as what? One dimension. And 2D array as a matrix has how many dimensions? N dimensions and so on. And you can see structure of the array. It provides a quick way to understand the fundamental structure of your NumPy array. This is crucial for operations like what? Indexing as well as what? Slicing, reshaping, broadcasting. And these operations often depends on the array dimensions and relationship with the shape. Now dimension and shape both are having what? Relationship. Now, n dimension is closely related to the shape attribute. The shape attribute returns a tuple of integers indicating the size of the array in each dimension. The length of this shape tuple is always equivalent to what? N dimension, right? So that is what you mean by it. In NumPy, n dimension is an attribute. NumPy.nd array object that represent the number of dimensions, which are nothing but access of the array. It returns an integer value indicating the rank of the array. So even this nd also represent which one? Rank. It also represent what here? Rank. Now you can see this is creation of various types of what? ND array. Yeah, I think you understood. Okay, n dimension. Okay, what is n dimension? Yes, yes. N dimension represent number of dimensions or access of the ND array object. Understood? What is here? So there is no confusion, right? So I just take this one. Not all, some of the things. So what is the name of the attribute? N dimension attribute. So don't think that I'm copying it. If you want, I'll write it. You want me to write? Yes, same definition, I should write it. Whatever I said, the same thing, right? So the first point I'm taking, and the structure of the array as a structure of the array. That's all. This represents structure of the array. Yeah, these are the points related with n dimension. These are the points related with n dimension, right? So that's all. The next is here. I'm trying to create another array. I'm trying to create another array. I'm writing a C equal to np dot array. I want to create 3D array. 3D array means first you need to represent number of matrices. Okay, number of matrices means I want to have two matrices. Yes. So that is what I said. Okay, that is what I said. So in NumPy, n dimension is an attribute of ND array object that represent number of dimensions. So dimensions are nothing but what here? Axis. So dimensions or axis both are same. Dimensions and axis both are what? Same. Both are same. You want me to show the image? Okay. Now you can see this image. You can see this is called which one? Axis 0. This is the direction. And if you see this 2D array, now this is what here? Axis 0 and this is axis 1. And if you take a 3D array, you are saying this is axis 0 and this is axis 1 and this is axis 2. Now this is 1D array, this is 2D array and this is what? 3D array. Getting or not? So this is 1D array, 2D array and this is 3D array. So how you are now you are trying to use the index 0, 1, 2 and what is that? 3. You are using index 0, 1 and 0, 1, 2 and what? Yes. Then first you are reading 0, 0 and then 0, 1 and there is what? 0, 2. Now this is called as axis 0 and this is called as axis 1. And in this case, this is called as axis 0 and this is called as axis 1 and this is called as what? Axis 2. Now this is one image. With this image, you have to understand, huh? What is a yes or no? क्या बोलते हैं यार? Huh? So it is a direction in which you are trying to read it. Image. So all these are attributes. Just to see here. I want to create which array? 3D array. I want to create a 3D array. Then in 3D array, what do you represent first? Number of matrices. Number of matrices. I want to create a 2 matrices. I want to create how many matrices? 2 matrices. And in this, again, you represent number of rows and columns. Number of rows and columns. I'm saying 1 comma 2. I'm saying here 1 comma 2. Comma, I'm saying here 3 comma 4. Now this is one matrix. Then inside this, again I'm creating number of rows and columns. 5 comma 6. Okay, comma, I'm writing 6 comma, what is that? 7. 5 comma 6 comma 6 comma 7, and I close it. I close it. Now see here, I'm creating an array. Now this is an array with how many dimensions? 3 dimensions. This is an array with how many dimensions? 3 dimensions. If I'm writing C and type of C is which type? ND array. And if I'm trying to say C dot n dimension, if I'm saying C dot n dimension, you can see this is which array? 3 dimensional array. Means it is having how many axes? 3 axes. Axis 0, axis 1, axis 2. Axis 0 is a matrix. Axis 0 is what? N number of matrices. Axis 0 is a matrix. Axis 1 is a row. Axis 2 is what? Column. Axis 0 is a row and axis 1 is what? Column. Yes. Now inside this, it represents how many matrices? 2 matrices. And each matrix is having how many rows and columns? 2 rows and 2 columns. Then you can go for 4D also. You can go for 4D. When you say 4D, it is having a clusters and then matrix and then rows and then what? Columns. Then rows and what is that? Columns. Now you can see like image. If you are talking about image, image is having rows and columns, and it is having some other values which you represented as which array? Three-dimensional array. Three-dimensional array. You can also represent with n-dimensional array. So what does a dimension represent? Axis. What does a dimension represent? Axis. And dimension is also helpful in reading. Dimension also helpful in what? Reading data from what? Array. If it is having 2 dimension, you have to use how many indexes? 2 indexes. If it is a 3 dimension, you should read it using how many indexes? 3 indexes. If it is having 4 dimension, you have to read it using how many indexes? 4 indexes. Understood? What do you say here? Yes or no? Huh? Yes. Now, if you take this is one classroom is there. This is one classroom. This is having dimension. Huh? Yes. Is having rows and columns. You people are organized in rows and columns. Yes or no? So this classroom is which dimension? 2 dimension. It is which dimension? 2 dimension. Understood? Right? Yes. So you can have any number of dimensions because it allows to create an array with any number of dimensions. Right? So this is about first attribute. And what is the first attribute is? Dimension. I'm not talking here. I'm not talking. I'm not talking here. I'm just copying this code in the notes. Okay. Now that is called the n dimension. This attribute is clear, right? All of you? Any doubts you have? Online students? Online students, you have any doubts? You can ask. बाद में नहीं पूछना मेरे को. Okay, right? Is it clear this? What is the meaning of dimension, right? Okay. Then next one is कौन है यार What is your name? बोलो यार. What is your name? LNB. Lakshmi Narayana. You have a good name here. Huh? Why you are wasting your name? Tell me here. Lakshmi Narayana, what is your doubt? Tell me. 1D, 2D difference, huh? Okay. What is your qualification here? You are an engineer, huh? Engineer, huh? You learn mathematics, huh? मैथमेटिक्स पढ़े स्कूल में? नहीं पढ़े नहीं? मालूम है मेरे को। पढ़े नहीं पढ़े? पढ़े? Now this is one dimension, right? This is which array? One dimension array. Having how many values? Four values. How you read these values? How you read these values? Index or none? Yes. How many indexes you use? One index. One index. Suppose this is A. What do you write it? A of 0. What do you write it? A of 1. A of 2. So this is called which axis? This is called as which axis? Axis 0. This is called which axis? Axis 0. Having row with multiple columns. Okay. Lakshmi Narayana. Right? This is called axis 0. Yes. Yes. वही बोल रहा था यार जब से. Satishel. Now this is again 1 comma 2, 1 comma 2 and 3 comma what? 4. This is which array? Which array here? Two-dimensional array. It is having how many axes? Two axes. Axis 0 and axis 1. It is having axis 0 and axis 1. So axis 0 is what? Rows. Axis 1 is what? Columns. Understood? So I should use how many indexes? How many indexes? Two indexes. I should say A of, what should I write here? 0, 1, 0, 1. Axis 0 and axis 1. So 0, 0, 0, 0. What is 0, 0 is? 1. Now A of 0, 1. What is 0, 1 is? 2. A of 1, 0. What is 1, 0 is? 3. A of 1, 1. What is 1, 1 is? 4. This is having how many axes? Two axes. Axis 0 and axis 1. Understood, Lakshmi Narayana? Right? Okay. Clear? Very good. Yeah, this is what 0 dimension is scalar. 1 means dimension is list of rows or columns. And 2 means dimension is rows and columns. 3 dimension means matrix, rows and columns. 4 dimension is cluster, matrix, row and what? Columns. Is it clear? Right? Yes. So next one is, now the array is having one more attribute. Array is having one more attribute. Array is having one more attribute. I'll just take this one also for your reference point. So points to remember. So points to remember. Just remember this. Points to remember. Very good. So points to remember. 0 dimension is what? Scalar. 1 dimension is a list row or column. 2 means dimension is row and column. 3 means dimension is matrix row and column. 4 means cluster, matrix, row and columns. That's it. अरे काव्य यार, हाँ क्या यार बोलो. Matrix and cluster is not understand, huh? You understood or not? बोलो यार. You understood? No ना, yes sir. इसलिए you have to learn list topic perfectly. Which topic you have to learn? List. List topic, if you know it, then everything will be easy. Understood? So I want to represent 3D. Means assume that I want to represent sales of, okay, how many salespersons? Two salespersons. I want to represent data of two salespersons. Okay, two salespersons, 2 years, two salespersons, 2 years, 5 months sales. Bolo here. How you represent? Two salespersons, 2 years, how many months sales? 5 months sales. Okay. Now this is my array or matrix. What is the name of this is? Sales. What is the name of this is? Sales. How many salespersons? Two salespersons. How many salespersons are there? Two salespersons are there. In this, how many years? 2 years. Means each salesperson is one matrix. देखो यार, each salesperson is one matrix. It is having number of rows and columns. अरे, yes or no? How many rows are there? 2 rows. How many columns? 5 columns. 2 rows and 5 columns. Each row represent what? Years. Each column represent what? Sales. Months sales. Months sales. This is called which array? 3D array. This is called which array? 3D array. In 3D array, 3D array contain what? Matrix. 3D array contain what? Matrix. And in that matrix, you will have a number of rows and columns. In that, you have a number of rows and columns. This is called which matrix? 3D, three-dimensional array. Aman, three-dimensional array. This is called which array? Three-dimensional array. समझ में आया यार? अमन, समझ में आया नहीं? हाँ, okay. Okay, now grouping. Now assume that you want to represent sales of two companies. Two companies. How many companies? Two companies are there. How many salespersons? Two salespersons. How many months? How many years? 2 years. How many months? 5 sales. Two companies. Two companies are what? Clustering. You are grouping, right? You are grouping. Cluster is nothing but group, right? You are grouping now. Now this is my array. This is an array, and this array contain how many companies? Two companies are there. Each company is called one cluster. Tell me, each company is called one cluster? Yes. Inside this, how many salespersons are there? Two salespersons. Two salesperson. Now each cluster is called one company. Each cluster is called one company. And in that, how many salespersons are there? Two salespersons. And each salesperson is one matrix or not? Yes. And in that matrix, how many rows and how many columns? Two rows and two columns. And sorry, number of rows and number of 2 rows and 5 columns. Now, 2 rows are nothing but years and 5 columns is nothing but sales. Now, this you call it as which array? 4 dimensional array. लॉजिकल. दिमाग लगाना यार, ऐसे नहीं लगाना. दिमाग लगाए तो मालूम होता. ओके राइट. जहां पे यूज करना वहां पे यूज नहीं करते, जहां पे यूज नहीं करना वहां पे यूज करते. यस. सो जीरो. 1, 2, 3, 4 dimension, right? Now ND array is having one more attribute. And what is the name of the attribute is D type. What is the name of the attribute? D type. D type means data type. Data type. D type means don't think something else. D type. Now D type attribute. D type attribute represents what here? Data type. Data type of array na or elements. Data type of what? Array. Data type of array is nothing but the data type of each, the type of values hold by array. Which type of values hold by array that represented by using which one? D type. Which type of values hold by the array that is represented using D type. So data type attribute represent data type of an array. Data type of an array. And this represents type of values hold by array. ऐसे सीखे तो बहुत टाइम लगता है यार. Okay, yes, but anyway, I want to tell you everything. So D type attribute represents data type of an array. This represent type of values hold by array. But whenever you are creating array, are you defining the type? See here, I am creating an array by saying array. So array 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Tell me array is having which type of elements? Integer. Array is having which type of elements? Integer. Print A dot. What is the attribute? D type. A dot D type. What is the data type is? Integer 64. Means what is the size of each element is? Integer 64. 64 means 64 bytes, bits, bytes, 64 bytes, 64 by 8, how many? 8 bytes. Each integer takes how many bytes? 8 bytes. Not 64 bytes here. Integer 64 means 8 bytes. Integer 64 means 8 bytes. Means each value occupies how many bytes? 8 bytes. 8 bytes it will take. Each one takes 8 bytes. Now, array provides some predefined data types. Array provides some predefined data types. Okay. Now here I'm creating an array again. I'm writing here B equal to np dot array. I'm creating an array with 1.5 comma 1.6 comma 1.7. 1.5 comma 1.6 comma 1.7. I'm printing B and I'm printing B dot D type. So B is which type of array? Float array. That is nothing but float 64. Means each value takes how many bytes? 8 bytes. Not 64 bytes. Okay. It will take how many bytes? 8 bytes. If I'm writing a C equal to np dot array. Now I'm creating with 1 plus 2j, 1 plus 3j, 1 plus 1 plus what? 4j. Now is it type of array is taken based on the type of elements or not? Yes. It is having the type is taken based on the type of elements. Here elements are which type? Complex type. Now what is the type is? Complex 128. Complex 128 means now 64. I mean 8 bytes is for real and 8 bytes is for imaginary. 8 bytes is for real and 8 bytes is for imaginary. Now total how many bytes? 128. 128 means 8 and 8 bytes. Right? 64 and 64 which is equivalent to what? 128. Getting or not? Right? Next, if I'm writing like this, np dot array, I'm creating an array of which type? String. I'm creating an array of type string. A, B, C, and one more is what? D. A, B, C, D, and D, and print D dot D type. D is which type of array? Yes. What it is showing? What is this? U1. U1 means? 1 means what? 1 byte. 1 means what? 1 byte. Because this data, this is string. String is a collection of characters, right? What is a string is? Collection of characters. Collection of characters. Now, here I represent multiple. Okay. What will happen if I represent multiple letters? If I run this, what is that? How many bytes it is? 2 bytes. Means each value is having how many bytes? 2 bytes. 2 bytes. But it is represented as a Unicode or not? Yes, unsigned Unicode. You'll say unsigned or Unicode. Unicode, right? If I'm writing A, B, C, A, B, D, A, B, D, and if I run this, how many bytes it is? 3 bytes. Because each character takes how many bytes? 1 byte. For example, yes, because what is the maximum is 3. What is the maximum is 3. If I'm writing E equal to np dot array, I'm creating an array 1 comma 1.5 comma 1 plus 2j. 1 comma 1.5 comma 1 plus 2j. Now you already learned this in Python, right? 1 comma 1.5 comma 1 plus 2j. How many data types how many data types here? 3 data types. What is the first one is integer. What is the second one is float. What is the third one is complex. In this data types, which one is a broader type? Complex. Which one is a broader type? Complex. Then what is the type of the array? Tell me, what is the type of the array? Is it type of the array is integer or float or complex? Complex. So always it will try to take which type? Broader type. And what is the broader types here? 1 point and 1 point plus 0j, 1.5 plus 0j, 1 plus 1.5 plus what is that? 2j. It means all these values are converted into which type? Complex type. All these values are converted into which type? Complex type. But I represent it as which type? Integer. I represent it as which type? Float. But in this, which one is a broader type? Complex. Then this integer is converted to what? Complex. This float is also converted to what? Complex. That is implicit conversion. Now if I'm writing f equal to np dot array, if I'm writing 1 comma 1.5 an integer and float, which one is a broader type? Float. Which one is a broader type? Float. Then it will create an array with which data type? Float data type. It will create an array with which data type? Float. It means array is collection of similar type or different type. Huh? Array is a collection of similar type elements or different types. दो आ रहा है यार, दो आंसर आ रहे हैं. थोड़े लोग डी बोल रहे, थोड़े लोग सी बोल रहे. सिमिलर और डिफरेंट? सिमिलर टाइप. नॉट बोथ यार, नॉट बोथ. अभी बोले ना उधर. किधर? किधर बोले अपन? व्हाट इज द डिफरेंस बिटवीन लिस्ट एंड अरे? List can be heterogeneous or homogeneous, but array is always homogeneous. But you are trying to store, see, you are trying to store like this 1 comma 1.5, but 1 को क्या कर रहा हूं ना? 1 is which type of value? Integer. It is converting this integer into what? Float. It is converting integer into float. So array cannot hold different types of values. Array can hold only similar type. You are writing 1 comma 1.5 comma 1 plus 2j. Then is it converting 1 into which type? Complex type. It is converting 1.5 into which type? Complex type, because array cannot hold different types of values. Array can hold only which type? Similar type. Then if you want different types of values, then you should define the type as which type? Object type. You have to define the type as which type? Object type. Object type. Then object can be any type or not? Yes. Object can be any type. That also we'll see. Okay, I think you understood this D type. So can I change the D type? Tell me. Unsigned value. Yes. U means unsigned. Unsigned integer or unsigned value. Because when you're talking about ASCII or Unicode, all these are which type? Unsigned. Unsigned character. which is called as unsigned character. Yes. So NumPy provides a predefined data types. NumPy provides some predefined data types. Now these are the data types provided by which one? NumPy. So what are the data types it is provided is, you can see integer. You have an integer what? 8. Integer 8 means 1 byte. Integer 8 means 1 byte. This is how you manage the space. This is how you manage the space. Suppose you want to store an integer with only 1 byte. Integer takes 1 byte. But by default, it is taking integer of how many bytes? It is taking integer of how many bytes? 8 bytes. It is taking integer of how many bytes? 8 bytes. Means you are unnecessarily wasting the space or not? Yes. Then it is recommended to define what? Type. It is recommended to define the type integer 8, integer 16, integer 16, and integer what? 32, integer what? 64, integer 64, integer 8, integer 16, integer 32, and integer 64. And then float. Float what? 32. You have a float 32 and float. What is that? 64. And there is a complex. There is a complex. Complex what? 128. And there is a complex. Double it. How much? How much? 256. Complex 256. Complex 128 and complex 256. Right? And these are some of the data types, and it also provide of which type? Object type. It also provide what is that? Unsigned, which is called as unsigned. How many bytes? 1 byte, 2 bytes, or what? 3 bytes. Unsigned. This is called unsigned. Unsigned value. This is called which value? Unsigned value. So that is represented by using U. Some people say unsigned, some people say Unicode values. Because Unicode, that is Unicode values. How many values are there? ASCII is about how many characters? 256. That is from 0 to 255. And each character takes how many bytes? 1 byte. Each character takes how many bytes? 1 byte. Right? Yes. I think you understood this data type. Yes. Then next attribute is, okay, next attribute what you have is shape. So shape is another attribute. But anyway, we'll see about this, like remaining attributes, not today, but we'll see tomorrow, right? I think you understood. Bolo here. Okay. So you can create an array using ND array, but you can also create an array object using various functions. And in this first, we are talking about which function? Array function. You understood what is n dimension? What dimension represent here? Axis. And that dimension is helpful for doing what? Indexing and slicing. And it is also helpful for defining the shape, right? So tomorrow we'll discuss about what is the shape and what is the difference between dimension and shape.